Welcome all to the start of a fresh new series on the channel, the Spin-Off series. There's a whole library of movies and TV shows we've all heard about, but who's actually spent the time going through and watching them all? Well, I might as well make the most out of my subscription to streaming services if they've all gone up in price anyway. Now, we were going to start off with the Ice Age spin-off Buck Wild, but after seeing how awful it was, I plugged it into the Terrible series instead, so maybe we'll be seeing a little overlap in places. My YouTube playlists are gonna get a hint more confusing. But nonetheless, forget Ice Age or Disney Plus in general. Today we're talking about Penguins of Madagascar. Released in December of 2014, 2 years after Madagascar 3, this makes it the unofficial Madagascar 4. And a good choice if you ask me, focusing on the best part of the franchise anyway. Or is the King Julian fanbase the biggest and most rabid part?
When I want my feet licked, I'll ask for it!
Oh, the feet! Oh, the feet!
Either way, the plot of this movie follows the misadventures of the 4 penguins immediately after the events of Madagascar 3. They literally start out in the circus, breaking out from an unseen angle, which is very cool to see. Like an inside look from behind the curtain. That being said, it's not precisely where the movie starts out, as every good spin-off has to have an unseen origin story. And this is how the penguins originally met. They were part of the same colony some years ago in Antarctica, of course. Well, Skipper Kowalski and Rico were, and Private was a rolling runaway egg needing to be saved. So while the rest of the colony were just a collection of marching domino pieces,
I question nothing.
Me too.
Me too.
the young boys got into action immediately. Their personalities just like that from the start.
Whoa, I like it. Hey, this could be our thing.
That egg then rolls into a snowball, lands on a wrecked ship, becomes the target of 3 evil seals. The penguins also become snowballs, eat the egg, and harpoon themselves to safety before ejecting the egg, landing on each other and blowing up the remnants of that shipwreck. And just that is how they met Private.
Hello.
Needless to say, this movie was pulling no stops when it came to the frenetic action sequences being portrayed to entertain kids. I mean, the penguins were already the most chaotic characters, so they really hammed it up for this movie. It's all quite a spectacle. Now, oftentimes when it comes to spin-off productions, the animation is usually delegated to some third-party studio, with the intention to release it more quietly on a smaller platform than full-on theaters. But I guess that's not so much what they were going for the Penguins of Madagascar. Spin-offs come in all shapes and scales. Though while most of the cast retained their roles, always eager for yet another installment, there was one casualty made along the way. John DiMaggio didn't make a reappearance, and he was replaced by Conrad Vernon, the guy behind Addams Family and voicing Lurk. The role they're replacing over it is Rico, by the way, so it's not really much of a passable difference. So with the prologue element out of the way, the integral point behind the movie is the familial connection the Penguin squad have together, with Skipper being a kind of father figure to Private, whilst Private is also juggling with his importance in the group compared to the others.
You could have anything you wanted. What would it be?
To be a meaningful and valued member of this team.
Oh,
And so we're back to the present day, with a simple mission in place for the Penguins to give Private his birthday present of cheesy dibbles from a vending machine. Which of course involved knocking out the guards, rolling over zebra crossings, cracking the safe code, and getting through that inconvenient room of gold, only for them to be attacked by an octopus and kidnapped away in the middle of the night. Dr. Octavius Brine is the name of our villain.
Dave!
Turns out, this guy was around prior to the events of Madagascar 1, all the way back at the New York Zoo, and was displaced due to the penguins' appearance, and he has been seeking revenge ever since. And mind you, the entire time he's been monologuing, his body's been squirming away in every which impossible direction in its human form.
Oh!
And you know, as villains go, this guy ain't bad. He adds a nice little expansion of the already established world of the franchise. He's intimidating with his size and movements, and yet also incredibly doofy and fun to watch. A solid original character all round. I think the trend we're gonna start seeing is that while Disney's Ice Age spin-off is an example of how to do everything wrong, DreamWorks' Penguins of Madagascar shows us how to do everything right. As the penguins escape with snow globes and a vial of some bioweapon into a Venice boat chase sequence with octopi and oars flailing in every direction. All of it is kind of an assault on the senses, but for being so blasé-ly on theme, it's clear there was a lot of passion and attention put into every action beat. And perhaps that makes sense, as the original intentions of making a project like this started 9 years before release, back in 2005. Literally from the time of the very first Madagascar movie. They always had plans to do something like this. Though the initial plan was to release in 2009, with a direct-to-DVD spin-off. You know, the typical bait I'm expecting this spin-off series to divulge into. But come 2011, and Disney announced it'd be a full feature film, with the writers behind Megamind and co-director of B-Movie. And that's what we got. Simon J. Smith, Alan J. Schoolcraft, Brent Simons, and Lara Bray as producer, who would later produce Ron's Gone Wrong as well. Cool. And apparently the director went on to create Baymax Dreams, which was made in Unity to showcase real-time engine prowess for TV that won him an Emmy? God, the deeper you look into people and production details, the deeper the rabbit hole always seems to go. Hey, you made it to halfway through, so if you want more, subscribe. And if you want more, check out our link tree in the description for connections to all our other external links. But back to the penguins, and eventually they're saved when cornered by a new squad of all original characters, known as the North Wind. They're gonna become our more conventional animal squad. Super organized, boosted with tech, and a clear spot for some envy on Skipper's part. And the voice cast includes Ken Jeong, Annette Mahendru, Peter Stormare, and up front is Benedict Cumberbatch.
Remain calm, penguins.
Who for some reason can't pronounce penguin.
Penguins. Penguins. Penguins.
Now these guys are alright. They have a lot to showcase in the 8 minutes we're stuck in their tech base. Though they're also kind of that cliche rival gang. We're not going to see all that much exploration into their characters individually, and let's be honest, all the focus is going to be on Benedict Cumberbatch, who's perturbed by their squad and the chaotic nature they bring. And soon enough, he tranquilizes them away to Madagascar, seeing them as a liability. But not before Dave makes a reappearance on the big screen.
Damn it, Dave.
And I think it's at this point I should really bring up this movie's shining ingredient, the jokes. I first learned about this movie from a Tumblr post back in 2014 probably, about the reoccurring gag Dave has with his minions.
Nicholas, cage them. Drew, Barry, more power.
Charlize, they're on the ring!
William, hurt them. Hallie, bury them. Hugh, Jack, man the battle stations.
And I mean, that is just great on its own, but during this present scene, Dave hacks into the Northwind's computers but is having some technical troubles in the video call, which sure is usually a tired old Zoom joke, but this is from 2014, and the spins they put on the idea genuinely still stand as pretty original to the usual schmuck.
It's not on.
Click on the button with the picture of the microphone.
Every time a villain calls in, this happens.
Hello?
You've also got pulling gags out of non-diegetic sounds.
Sorry.
And the very beginning with a
Dave!
Id Attenborough ripoff, documentarizing the Penguin expedition, followed by a pretty dark joke that's probably a wink to the real nature atrocity of docu-crew forcing penguins off a cliff for some drama.
Gunther, give them a shove.
Still, it's clear that it's the gags that are at the very center of this movie. From the sporadic actions to the goofy lines, the crazy scenarios, and the logic of physics, this movie is all about entertainment and just being funny.
Release the sheep.
And say what you will about the spin-off nature of the movie, or perhaps some of the more standard plot points, the actual entertainment factor for kids and for adults is absolutely off the charts. According to Rotten Tomatoes, this movie garnered a 74 and 63%, though I also get the sense that this is the kind of movie to gain a cult following behind it for just how unapologetically stupid it is willing to get. Anything for a laugh. And it's certainly fitting in a universe like this, I would say. But hey, let's get back to some plots. The next sequence has the penguins attempting to intercept Dave's evil deeds themselves, stopping him from abducting penguins from the Shanghai Zoo, as he's been collecting penguins. And keeping to that theme of Private being the underappreciated younger child, he's reluctantly placed as bait amongst the Shanghai penguins, only for the mission to fail and Dave to take Private fully away from them. And upon using Northwind's jet to try to chase down Dave's submarine, it's blown up over the scuffle between squads. A dramatic moment that the sporadic nature of the Madagascar world really helps to highlight, with the crew literally being flung upside down into the windshield to witness front row seats of the submarine sinking. I think there's a real art to cartoonish physics and storytelling, and whatever you want to call this bombarding genre, it comes together fantastically when the stars align like this. And with Private as the man on the inside, we come to learn that Dave's villainous plan is to use his bioweapon, a Medusa serum, to turn all penguins into mindless, ugly-looking monsters, just so that the public will hate them, and hopefully exterminate them too. Someone hasn't met David Attenborough. That's it. That's the evil. It's petty, it's small, it's fitting for a spin-off, and awfully doofenshmirtz. Movies these days always feel like there needs to be some sort of Avengers-level threat final boss, so it's almost kind of refreshing to see something that's more, almost personal, and lower on the stakes for your ending, you know? And so, the big rescue mission is put into action, North Wind and the penguins side by side, however much Skipper doesn't want to swallow his pride. And after all the more conflicts of conversation and a million jokes on the actual execution of the operation, everyone is captured. It's that kind of final act where all hope seems lost and the heroes can only witness the villain in their moment of triumph. Now, as we come to a close on the plot synopsis, we'll tell the end results of this DreamWorks side-ish project. As Penguins of Madagascar collated a decent $83.4 million in North America, although that is overshadowed by the $290.2 million it got from foreign countries on top of that. The Penguins truly did tackle a round-the-globe adventure, although, in comparison to DreamWorks' usual standards, this movie was considered a flop. In fact, thanks to this film and Peabody and Sherman, DreamWorks ended up having to write off over $50 million in recovery. See, while the quality of the film and its barrage of jokes may be something I can come to really appreciate 9 years later, the fact of the matter is these penguins were already 9 years old from their first theatrical appearance. And perhaps there was an element of fatigue in audiences to see these characters after so much time had already passed. With an initial plan to release in 2009, maybe that would have been the formula to proper success. It doesn't help that when this film did release, it came out during Big Hero 6's major sweep of November, and even when tackling Chinese markets through their department that was legitimately called Oriental DreamWorks for a time, wow, that is dated, they still came out second behind Interstellar. Other causes could be the TV show of the same name causing confusion or diverting away from the "you have to pay to see this one" option. Whatever the case, it stopped Madagascar in their tracks, and perhaps killed the DreamWorks spin-off saga on the big screen. But you know who wasn't killed? Private! In fact, he's the only one that avoids Dave's Medusa serum, because yes, Dave manages to zap every penguin in his collection and parade them out to cause PR havoc on their entire species. Ugh, just look at them all. What a totally disgusting and unmarketable thing. Only for the big fight to ensue, all sorts of set pieces and antics to be used until Private himself plugs into the machine and sabotages it from the inside, finally becoming a valued member of the team and appreciated by his father-brother Skipper.
You are the most meaningful and valued member of this team.
And just like that, with a few extra beats in there and a super slow-mo cheesy dibble button shot later, all the penguins are restored. Dave is shrunk into a snow globe and finally gets the love he's been craving from humans. Somewhat. The squad are recognized for their functionality, all things considered. Private grows antlers, and they're each given jetpacks to fly off into the sunset sky. Oh, and one more thing. There's a mid-credit scene.
You know, if I'm being honest, I expected a little more pizzazz.
King Julian is dead. Eat your heart out, rabid fanbase. Penguins of Madagascar is perhaps a brave example of putting all your eggs into a spin-off project in the hopes that quality will lead into success. It was treated like a proper DreamWorks film at the same release routine as the original trilogy. and yet perhaps became as a warning example of the precautions that should come with attempting a spin-off at all. It'll always be smaller in scale and smaller in response. That being said, revisiting it was an absolute blast. Without all the context of Madagascar fatigue, it's a really entertaining romp of visuals and gags. It's not stellar on the plotline or the messaging, but for just being simple and enjoyable, the Penguins of Madagascar have that in droves. They were just practically born that way, fittingly chaotic in this absurd world. Now, if only every other spin-off we tackle in the series could leave us with such high praise. For now, my name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.